everyone, and welcome to Cartoon Clearance. I'm Dan,
And I'm Meg.
and we like to ramble about cartoons. Today, we'd like to talk about a movie close to our hearts. It's called Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School was a made-for-TV movie by, of course, Hanna-Barbera, the cartoon company producers that made all the classic cartoons of the 60s and 70s. It was created in 1988 as a part of the Hanna-Barbera Superstar 10 series of made-for-television movies. This movie was the sixth to be shown in 1988. Meg, would you like to run down the plot for us for this lovely movie?
Of course. This movie is about Shaggy and Scooby and Scrappy-Doo. Yes, this is a movie with Scrappy-Doo. And they all go to be gym teachers at a, boarding school off in the remote who knows where. It's a school for girls, and yet when they get there, they discover that it's not a school for girls, it's a school for ghouls.
Hence the title.
Hence the title. So they find themselves faced with 5 daughters of classic Universal monsters. So, real quick, we have Tanis, who's the daughter of the mummy, Winnie the werewolf, daughter of the Wolfman, of course, Sibella, the daughter of Dracula, who's weirdly sexualized, Elsa Frankentine, not Frankenstein, Frankentine.
The daughter of the Frankentine monster, of course.
Yes. And you have Phantasma, the daughter of the Phantom, but which Phantom is not really made clear. And the school is run by Miss Grimwood, and she has a little pet dragon called Matches, who's very angry and the best. And so wacky hijinks ensue as Shaggy and Scooby get roped into teaching this gym class, despite the fact that they want to run away. And so the Grimwood girls have a rivalry going with the Callaway cadets of the military school next door. And then there's also the subplot, or I guess the real plot, of the evil plot of Revolta, the self-proclaimed witch of the web. And she wants the chance to kidnap the girls and to make them evil forever.
That's a quote. Direct quote.
That is a direct quote.
So, do you have any background with this movie? Did you enjoy it as a child? Because I know a lot of people say this is like one of their favorites along with Zombie Island.
Yeah, this was my favorite Scooby-Doo movie when I was a kid.
Ah. I always thought this one was like okay. It was like one of the ones that was on TV all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it was my favorite, and it was probably really just because I liked vampires when I was little, and this had a vampire in it.
Yes. Though I think nowadays she makes me more uncomfortable.
She makes me very uncomfortable.
She makes me very... Oh god. Maybe at the end we'll have to do our best Sibella impressions. But so let's jump right into the movie after that plot breakdown. So the first thing that really bothered me was that there was no like opening theme song. And we talked about this before we recorded, but unless I'm mistaken, a lot of the Scooby-Doo either shorts or made-for-TV movies at least have like some sort of opening theme or like an intro that brings you in, but it just starts off with Shaggy and Scooby and Scrappy just driving.
Well, see, I think that could work as an introduction.
Yeah, it could.
I don't think a movie needs to have like an opening theme, like a theme song or anything. It was just that all of a sudden they were driving and there were all of these jokes flying around, and it felt really rushed, and there wasn't really any establishing moment to kind of let it sink in.
Yeah, they say early on, it's just like, well, Shaggy, you're doing a good job. Well, no, you're not doing a good job, but you're got this new job as a gym teacher. Hope it pans out for you. And it's like, okay, now I know. But it's just interesting to me because where is the rest of the mystery gang? I have a theory that they kicked them out for eating too much food or something, or perhaps something more underhanded. But we got
maybe Shaggy and Scooby just have a life outside of the mystery gang. Did you ever think of that?
Shaggy is a freelance gym teacher, is what you're saying.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Which I don't believe. I don't believe because I've seen Shaggy. Well, I haven't seen Shaggy in person, but from what his prior history shows, I don't think he'd be cut out for much. Although he does do a lot of running, so maybe you know what? I take it back. That's his credentials as a gym teacher. He does a lot of running.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's great at fitness because he still manages to stay slim with all of that junk that he eats. Anyway, so I think what the worst thing about the intro was that there was really no time to sort of get settled into this idea.
It wasn't eased into.
You know, they drive up to the house, and all of a sudden Shaggy is like, "Oh no, I want to run away," even though we didn't really get an establishing shot of like this big creepy rundown mansion or anything until after this had happened, and they had already driven up to it. And
yeah, and then they go inside too, and they meet Miss Grimwood, who I think is like maybe Gomez Adams' like cousin.
Yeah,
because she's like, we'll talk about her later. But so then he meets all the monsters that we listed off in the beginning, and then that's when he's like, oh, I gotta get out of here. And then they just don't. I don't know what really keeps them in the house.
Miss Grimwood brings out a contract and is like, nope, you can't leave.
Oh.
You signed a 1-year contract to be our gym teacher. And Scooby and Scrappy both witnessed it. And then they're just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess that's that. And it was really strange because we didn't see any moment of acceptance, really, of Shaggy going from I want to get out of here to, okay, I guess I'll stay. 1 minute, he's like, oh God, I need to get out of here. And the next minute, he's cheerfully dancing ballet with the girls.
Yes. Well, and that's, you know, when you're a freelance gym teacher, Meg, you have to really hunker down and you have to decide. Education is on the line here, particularly the volleyball game, because that is, I wouldn't say the main cruxes of the movie, but that arc or segment lasts till about maybe 50 minutes in, and the movie's about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes.
So it's, I call it the main arc.
It should be mentioned that this volleyball game is the annual volleyball game between Grimwood and the Calloway boys, which the Calloway boys always win because they cheat.
Because they cheat, which is very honorable because they're a military prep school. So weird. But for their volleyball game, nobody practices how to play volleyball. Like Shaggy's like, you got to get limber. So we ballet. I'm like, how about like the rudiments? Or they swim in the moat. They swim in the moat right before the game with like sharks. And I you know, it's a cartoon. I understand that, but they get in and then they're like, how are we ever going to win against the Calloway boys? And I'm thinking it could be very easy to win against the Calloway boys because they don't practice volleyball. So if you just practiced, you'd probably be better. But then again, before the Callaways started cheating, the Grimwoods were better, but because they cheated.
Yeah, everyone was cheating.
It wasn't conscious. Yeah, it wasn't conscious cheating, but it was a more like, well, I'm a vampire bat. I'll just turn into a vampire bat and
fly
hit the ball over the net.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm the Frankenteen monster. I'll use my Frankenteen strength.
Yeah, to just hit it right through the net.
Yeah. And Scrappy-Doo is the referee, so definitely unbiased refereeing.
The one that really got me was when the mummy girl hit the ball and one of her bandages like attached to it, and so it went over and like the guys couldn't hit it because
it was like a paddle ball.
She was like controlling it, and they got a point for that. And I was like, Scrappy, what are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be watching?
No, he's a dog.
You know, and then, you know, the Calloway boys were using these really obvious cheating methods, like
remote controls.
Using a remote control mechanism with the ball to completely control it and make it do all of these crazy antics that a ball would not do.
Yeah. Before we go on, I'd just like to mention that I think there's a lot of odd design and animation choices between the Grimwood girls and the Callaways, particularly the Callaways when they get ready for their volleyball game. They wear short shorts, and you know what? That was the style, you know, that's when you work out. But one of them has like a crop top, and it's like really high up.
It was a shredded crop top.
It was a shredded crop top, you're right. And like there's a lot of like butt scooching, like they keep like flying backwards into each other, like butt first. And that's just the boys. And we talked about Sabella's oddly sexualized design. Like she's wearing a nightie essentially for the whole movie. And every time she speaks,
like the luscious lips and the heavily shadowed eyes and long eyelashes. And
I will say though,
she speaks with like this weirdly, like I guess it's supposed to be a sultry voice as she does all of her bat puns.
A sultry 11-year-old voice.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm not really into girls with no noses. No offense to anyone out there with no nose. But I know she's sexy because the movie told me so, because the saxophone started playing every time she talks. But yeah, there's just a lot of odd design choices. no surprise, these Grimwood girls win through their own shenanigans. And I think my favorite segment of that scene is how the headmaster of the Callaways is like, I don't want to give up my trophy. I don't want to do it. And then like the disembodied hand that works with the Grimwoods takes it, like struggling. And then the kids are like, I can't believe we lost. And then he turns around, he's like, Callaways lose with respect. Come on, let's show a good example. I'm like, you just said I don't want to give up my toy, pretty much.
I'm pretty sure that was the joke.
I'm sure it was the joke, or maybe it was just, I don't know, poor writing. They forgot.
I feel like I think that was probably the joke.
Yeah, because speaking of the writing, this movie was written by a joke book.
Yeah, I think the pun count is probably equal to the curse count in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's not even clever puns. Some of them aren't bad, but most of them are just the same ones repeated over and over. So you'll have the vampire girl just saying, "Fantastic," every chance she gets, or this water's as warm as a bathtub. It's yeah.
I mean, there were some in here that I liked. Ironically, I didn't write any of them down, but so after they win this volleyball game, they have like parent-teacher night, I guess you'd call it. And this is when I guess the main plot starts to take shape, because throughout all this, Revolta, Witch of the Web, has been spying on them, but hasn't been doing anything about it. They just kind of have been spying.
Just spying and cackling evilly.
And you've got the parent scene where she's like, there's Dracula, and there's the mummy. And they're like, why don't you kidnap them instead of the girls, is what I want to ask. But we can get to that breakdown of her plan when we get to that scene.
Yeah.
But, so, they have the Dracula comes in and the mummy comes in, everyone's parents come in. And they're very nice. And you pointed out that, I didn't catch this, but Revolta says that, like, they've gone soft.
Yeah, you see Dracula kind of, using his cape to shelter the mummy from the rain as they walk in.
That's just common Dracula courtesy. Because you have to keep in mind, Dracula in lore is a polite person, because he doesn't go into your house unless you invite him in.
Right.
So I assume he has other, like, he mastered other areas of etiquette. So maybe Revolta just doesn't know her Dracula lore.
Maybe.
But at the same time, I don't think they did go soft, because they have a private moment with Shaggy where they're like, if anything happens to my daughter, I'll murder you, pretty much.
Yeah, basically.
And so they haven't. And also, I'd just like to jump ahead in literal time, our time. A movie later, Dracula turns Shaggy into a werewolf. So what happened in between these movies where Dracula was somewhat soft and now he's nice, and then he runs his own race car business? It's confusing to me. I'm referencing Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf for anyone at home who doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Well, clearly Hanna-Barbera did not put much stock in continuity of their monsters across their movies.
I had a lot of faith in the Scooby-Doo-universe, and and that's trademarked by me.
I bet you someone's come up with it already.
Then I'm sad.
Sorry.
So Revolta finally sees these monsters and is like, all right, I'm gonna set my plan in motion. And she can make spider earmuffs
that hypnotize
I think
people.
She could start up a very nice business, I think, just alone that way, and take over the world economically. But would you like to explain her like how she gets to the plan?
Well, she sends her little spider bat thing to go and weave hypnotic earmuffs for Shaggy. And actually, I thought it was really interesting the way that this hypnosis worked, because it wasn't direct, like, mind control for him. It was more just kind of planting the idea in his head. Take these girls on a field trip to the bog of whatever tomorrow.
The Barren Bog,
I think
that's what it's called.
Yeah. And, so the next day he wakes up and he's like, hey, today's a great day for a field trip. So I thought it was pretty cool that he wasn't like I must take the girls on a field trip to the Barren Bog. And you did see a little bit of that kind of hypnosis later on.
Yeah,
when they went
I was just
to
about
the bog,
to say that.
And Revolta had sent her bat spiders and her plant creeper minion, her minion who was a plant thing with vine tentacles whose name is Creeper.
Yeah.
And he was quite a creeper, I'll just say. That was a very fitting name, even though I don't think that word was necessarily used the same way back in the 80s as it is today.
No.
Anyway, so, when the girls had the spider earmuffs on them, they went all red-eyed and they were,
I must obey
I obey
Revolta.
only Revolta. And so
So
she manages to
yeah.
kidnap them, and she brings them back to her castle in the middle of wherever. And
To make evil forever.
yeah, and it's not really made clear what exactly her goal is.
It's like I know what her end game is. Like I know you want it's like the step 1, step 3 scenario where it's like I want these girls and then by the end I'll have evil forever. And I've written down sort of like the evolution of her plot. And it's like the first time she comes on screen she says I'll kidnap these girls and they'll make me more powerful. Then later on she says I can make evil with them. Then after that she says I'll make them evil forever. And then after that, when she has them hypnotized and in her lair, she just has them hypnotized and is limiting their usage to indentured servitude, where they just clean the house.
Yeah, like Shaggy and Scooby and Scrappy make their way in, and they find the girls, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank God you're here! Thank God you're safe! We got to get out of here!" And the girls who are just kind of sweeping up the stone, like the dirt floor, or dusting furniture, kind of turn and go, "I obey only Revolta," and then just go back to whatever they were doing. Like, she didn't order them to attack intruders or anything.
Yeah.
Like,
or about this. Well, why would she though? Because it would be like if I stole all of like the let's just say like a natural resource, and then I'm like, now I'm gonna put them all throughout my compound. So it'll be harder for me to find them in case something goes wrong because I know someone's out there who wants them. So it's just such a weird thing. Like why did they need to be like sweepers? I guess because it would be funny, but it's just like you wanted them because then later she's like, I'm making a potion and it has to be done before midnight because this hypnosis wears off, which is like weird because why wouldn't you just make permanent hypnosis? But I guess this potion would be permanent hypnosis.
right. I don't know.
And
I
then-
think she just wanted friends aside from Creeper.
I don't know. She just didn't have a good outlet. She had a well dweller. What more do you want?
She did have a well dweller. So the Creeper
Wait-
trapped Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy down a well. Oh, and matches. Don't forget matches.
And matches. Well, yeah.
And so this gigantic well monster kind of comes up and is looming and it's gonna eat them or something. And then Scrappy's like, I know what to do. And he pulls out a ball from wherever and starts like bouncing it against the walls. And the well dweller just kind of gets into it and is like, yeah, this is great.
Actually, Scrappy is just like, I'm bored. I'm gonna play my handball.
No, I don't think that's what he said.
I thought he did that because he just had it. He's like, I'm playing handball, and then he starts throwing it, and the well dweller was like, ooh.
I think it was.
But
I feel like
maybe
it was
he says
more
I
like
have an
there's
idea.
only one thing left to do because the
Also,
dragon couldn't
yeah.
breathe fire because
The
he was in water.
the water level goes from drowning level to shin level, like shin for Scrappy Doo level, which I guess would be like a puddle for Shaggy. And definitely not like it's a well dweller, so I assume that well dweller needs a lot of water to survive. Revolta is not a very good pet owner, I should say. Maybe that's why she's the villain of this film.
Maybe.
That's the real evil of this film because her evil plans do not go well because she wants to revoltize the kids and make them just mean. And then after that she's like, I'll have an evil SWAT team. And that again is like, why do you want the kids like to be evil? Because their parents are probably, I'm gonna say surely, infinitely more powerful than their kids.
Yeah, I wonder if she was trying to use them as like a bargaining chip. Well,
But she doesn't tell us.
Like maybe not hostages, but maybe sort of, using the girls to influence the parents or whatever. But I don't know because she never explained it.
No, she did not. So no surprise, Shaggy and Scooby and Scrappy save the girls with the help of the Calloway boys, who are feeling a bit of regret for being mean the whole time, and they were also saved by the Grimwood girls from quicksand at some point.
Yeah, when they were.
So
in
they
the
all
bog.
escape. Revolta explodes
Oh yeah, there's the typical,
twice.
castle.
because they fly away.
crumbling.
She's like, at least I have my witch's broom, and then she explodes on that.
Oh yeah.
So she had a faulty broom. And then finally, the finale of the film.
Oh boy.
Scrappy Doo does a Scrappy rap, and it's pretty good. I just suggest checking that out for yourself. And Miss Grimwood's like, hey, we've got our next batch of girls coming in, and it's like an alien, baby Godzilla, and the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I don't know,
Right?
something like that.
Yeah, or I call it like the muck monster, and then apparently that's the breaking point for Shaggy because like no, and he runs away.
And they drive away.
And then,
I guess their contract.
But they drive
is up.
away. Yeah, I guess their contract's up, but at the same time they're driving away, and then they're like, let's give a hearty goodbye.
Yeah, the
Which would be
original 5
weird.
girls are kind of standing out, waving goodbye, and that's cute because
I just feel bad for those new girls.
yeah, and that's cute because it shows that they've
They've evolved a little bit.
like it's cute to see that they've come to terms with these girls who are monsters and even been able to become friends with them. But at the same time, it's like, have you learned nothing?
Yeah, well,
Don't
no,
judge by
because...
appearances, guys. Come on.
But it'd be like if you broke up maybe not angrily, but you broke up with someone, and then as you were like 20 feet away, you're like, goodbye, bye. And they'd be like, what?
And also, speaking of, I guess the contract is up because they're able to leave, but it was a 1-year contract, and there was no sense of time passing aside from
I'd say,
the
if
fact,
anything, there was like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, like in the middle of the movie when there was the parent-teacher thing, not the parent-teacher thing, when all the parents came to visit, I guess it was Halloween because they were carving jack-o'-lanterns and whatnot, but Grimwood is in like eternal Halloween mode. So it's kind of hard to tell. We didn't see Christmas pass or anything. We didn't see anything happen, and
we didn't see Shaggy really do all of his gym teacher duties. I only saw like 3.
Yeah, it felt like a couple of days at the
most.
Well,
I mean, maybe that's fitting because I don't know about you, but in my high school, we probably only participated in gym 3 times the whole year because our gym staff was pretty lazy.
Wow, lucky you.
No, but yeah, that ends the movie, and it was. I think what stood out to me as the most interesting thing was that Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy finally met real monsters, because in their adventures they always meet fakers and they have masks on. But this one's like, no, this is Dracula. And they actually, surprisingly, I mean, I would understand, they get scared all the time, but they cope with that better than the fact that they consistently meet, like, posers on a regular basis. And like, it's daughter of Dracula. All right. I don't know about you, but my favorite character of the movie was Octopus Butler. There was an Octopus Butler who had a very stiff upper lip.
Ah, yes.
And he didn't speak, but that's how I imagine he'd sound.
My favorite character was Matches, who was just really angry at everything, for the most part. I mean, he warmed up to Scooby and Shaggy.
He had an arc. He was angry, and then he was less angry by the end of it. Though I'd like to see a Matches epilogue where he copes with the fact that his new friends pretty much bailed on him.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty mean.
Yeah.
Also, I'd just like to say one last thing. Why do monsters like bad food? In this movie, they're like, ooh, you have to try our spiderweb cobbler or something. Or they're like, oh, rotten tomatoes are the best. And then Miss Grimwood's like, every once in a while, fresh fruit comes in, and we have to weed it out. But that's not how agriculture works. You have to let the food get rotten. And by that definition, like, they would have no food. Unless they just order, like, pre-made rotten crops, in which case, why even have a garden?
Maybe there's special rotten seeds that grow rotten fruit. Anything is possible.
I suppose the Duniverse is quite rich in its lore, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that just about wraps it up for this week's episode. Yep. If you think we missed anything, or perhaps got something wrong in Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, let us know. Leave a comment, subscribe, and leave a like. That would really help us out.
Thanks for watching. And remember, fungus fudge always tastes moldy.
Good night, or good afternoon, or good morning.
Goodbye. See you next time.